everybody. Welcome back to Tim Travels. I'm Terry, your host, coming to you from, I think this is technically Summers, Wisconsin, exit 340 off of I-94. I'm at the big Kwik Trip here. Purportedly, this is Summers Crossing, is this like shopping area, but purportedly the largest Kwik Trip in America. That's Kwik Trip with a K-W. So I got some breaking news about this Kwik Trip. I just had a conversation with a guy named Gavin that works here, and he was cool. And because I was asking, I'm like, well, I'll get to that in a minute. But first things first, I wanted to. Somebody asked me, what are the things you should be asking recruiters about? And since I've been going through this process in earnest, and in the past, since I've been going through this process in earnest, I'm going to answer a little bit of a few questions about that. But in the past, I typically would focus on like one company that I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to that company, or I'd maybe apply to two companies. But after leaving Prime and after terminating that relationship, I did apply to some companies, but I'm still not satisfied with what I have. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't or won't stay where I am, but I just don't I just don't feel like I'm getting everything that I would like. And life's sometimes about compromises, but it just depends on what you're going to compromise on. So with that in mind, I've continued to apply to companies, because a lot of times I'll see a company, like I'll see somebody on the road and I'll be like, hey, I never really thought about that company. Like, I give you an example. I talked to a guy yesterday, I won't say his name, but I talked to him at the Loves in basically Morris, Illinois, the one that has the NAF. And I was going in to get a shower, and his truck, or his trailer, he was getting a tire changed on his trailer. And he was with, I think it's Zener, and they have these pretty bright yellow trucks. Usually I see KWs and Peterbilts, and they're out of Nebraska. And the only other interaction I had with one of their drivers, and this was, I'm kind of chuckling. He didn't think it was funny, but I was just like, it was so bizarre that I just had, it's always stuck in my head. But the only other interaction, and if you want to call it that, with one of their drivers was, sorry, my ear's itching. I think pollen or something. Was when I was at GP Transco, I was at this, I don't even know what I was picking up, but it was in Michigan, and it was one of those places that has the loading docks where you back into a building essentially, and then the dock is in the building. And so if you've ever been in those, a lot of times they're old school and they're really tight. And that's the dock that I backed in. So just if you want to envision looking outward, right? There was 1, 2, I was in 3, and then there was a 4th dock. And in between docks 1 and 2, there was a pillar, and then my side, the 3 and 4, it was just one big opening. But that's the dock where the dude from Super Ego, trying to back into the number 4 spot, goes by my mirror, and my mirror pushes in his trailer door. That's how close he is to me. But then instead of just waiting and being patient so I could like help him and get the mirror out of the way, he immediately like puts it in forward and pulls out fast and takes my mirror with it. Because when the door went by, right, I'm trying to, this is my diagram here. when the door went by, of course, the mirror pushed the door in, but then as soon as it got by the mirror, the door popped back out, right? And so then when he pulls out, the door catches the mirror and swings it all the way forward. Now, I didn't actually report that because I was able to get the mirror back into place and I didn't really see any damage. But I remember at the time, the guy, I was like, dude, what the hell, just ease up. Just take, you're in a really tight place. You should go slower. He's like, oh man, I've never backed into this dock before. I'm like, yeah, like you and me both. I backed in a few minutes before you. That was my first time at this dock. I didn't hit anybody. I didn't hit the guy that was there before you. So anyway, after that happens, I see this Zener guy had pulled in, but he came in there like he was taking a trap on an aircraft carrier, right? Like he was like a 3-wire guy, and he just comes flying in there like cloud of dust, swings around. Well, then he goes inside and they tell him, oh, back in this door. So he has this trailer that's like brand new. Like, how there's grease prints, palm prints on the inside of the trailer doors on reefers after they've been around for just a little while? Yeah, he opened his trailer doors up. He didn't have jack. That thing was spotless, right? And this dude, for some reason, was just in a huge hurry to get in that loading dock. And he freaking hammers that center pillar with the right-hand door of his trailer. And then, of course, he's getting out and he's swearing and stuff. So anyway, that was my only experience with Zener until Saturday. And I met this dude. He was totally cool. He had a lot of experience driving for racing car teams, IndyCar teams. But he was driving for them, and it's kind of funny because I knew this guy was A-okay, because as soon as I said, hey, how's that company? He's like, it's just a trucking company, and we talked for a while. But anyway, I didn't really know anything about that company. That's the point of this story. And so, you learn about companies, or you see them, you're like, oh, they're running this lane, maybe I'm interested in them. And so that's what I've been doing. And so, somebody asked me, what are the things that you look for? And truthfully, after 5+ years of driving, and after having been at a few different companies who were different sizes, etc., like the company I'm with now has less than 200 or less trucks. Now, GP Transco was that size when I was there, but now they have 500 trucks. So I don't know what point they become a mega carrier. I guess because mega, I think you have to have 1 million trucks. You have to have at least 1 million trucks to be considered a mega carrier. So if you have 1,000 trucks, you're only a milli carrier. Anyway, sorry, I didn't make that stuff up. That's just how, those are words. So anyway, I was thinking about what is it, and so I sent it on an application, I got circled back, the recruiter's like, yeah, we need a couple bits of information, and we'd like to, here's the information for experienced drivers. And one of the things that jumped out at me, and this is important to me because at the company I'm at right now, I don't get enough miles. It's not even, it's not like, it's ridiculous how few miles I've been getting. And in fact, my company has a $1,250 gross earnings guarantee that the last 2 weeks they've had to kick money into to get me to $1,250. That's how few miles I've been running. Like last week, I ran less than 2,000 miles. So that's one of the reasons that I'm looking somewhere else. But I talked to this other company, and one of the things, and so getting into some of the things I look for, they had a guarantee of $1,200, and my response to that was, well, that's below market. Now maybe I don't even know, maybe there's not a market, but what I've always said is don't be enamored or put a lot of stock in how much a company pays per mile, because as you can see with my case, my company pays 62 cents a mile, which is probably a little bit above market. It's well above some companies like, say, Prime. But I don't get good enough miles, in my opinion. And so that guarantee, and here's the thing, right? When a company says, oh, the guarantee is $1,200 or the guarantee is $1,250 or it's $1,300 a week, that's their way of saying that if we don't have enough work for you, that's all you're getting. And when I was at GP Transco, there was a guarantee too, and I don't recall what it was, but I never hit it. And so, when things are slower, maybe that's more important, because I would rather have a company say, hey, you know what, we would love to bring you on, we just don't have enough work right now. We just don't have enough work. And be honest about it. Now, you could say, well, Terry, you're getting money, like your company's kicking in money and you didn't even do anything. Well, yeah, that's true. But my issue with that is that I want to be doing something. I don't want to be sitting around. If I'm sitting around, I want to be sitting around at my house, okay? And since I'm only getting LTL mileage, I think I should be getting LTL pay, right? So 70 cents a mile plus. So with that in mind, that's one of the things you may want to ask. Do they have a guarantee? And because if a trucking company has plenty of work, the guarantee's never going to come into play. And you can quickly do the math. Like, how many miles would I need to run in a week to be over that guarantee? And in my case, it's not a lot. It's like if I'm at 2,100 miles in a week, they won't have to kick in on the guarantee. So, I mean, I guess I'm grateful that I have a guarantee, but I feel like it should be higher because I didn't come to this company to just earn $1,250 a week. And so that's one thing. Benefits. I am fortunate that I don't need medical insurance. I mean, I need medical insurance. I have medical insurance. So I don't need it provided. I don't need it provided by a company. And by the way, the whole idea that healthcare is based on your ability to work and where your job is, and people can't change jobs because of health insurance. It's just a effed up system. I don't care what anybody says. People can call it socialized medicine or whatever, but think about how impactful that is on people's freedom of movement, freedom of choice. I'm very fortunate because I can tell, I could say to a company today, hey, go piss up a rope, and I still have medical benefits. I still even have income coming in every month. My wife probably would not want me to do that, but I could. And it gives me the opportunity to do things that other people can't do. But if medical's important, ask the questions. How long does it take to get benefits? It's like, to me, it's obscene that somebody would have to wait, be an employee of a company. They're like, yeah, we're so glad you're here. You're one of our, you're one of our drivers. We love our drivers. Oh, what? If you get sick? Yeah, it's going to be the month following when you've already worked here 180 days. Because we're pretty sure that you're not going to need any health care between now and then. And neither is your family or your wife or whatever, or your husband, as the case may be. And I just think that's obscene. Companies that have benefits from day one, those are companies that are high in my estimation, right? Because it's their way of saying, hey, look, we're bringing you on board, but we need to take care of you. I mean, I look at the military, right? The military doesn't say, oh, come to boot camp, we'll give you a physical. If there's anything wrong with you, you're going to have to wait 6 months to get it fixed. No. If people need dental work. We do it then. We do it in boot camp. We don't finish it all sometimes, but we make them whole. We're like, we took you in, you're a part of us, and you get benefits, and you have them every day that you're on, you're in the military. And the idea that somebody has to wait 6 months, I mean, depending on a condition that you have, 6 months is basically that's like signing a death sentence, a death warrant. And so the idea that you got to wait all this time for benefits, and the reason is because of costs, right? But the cost is de minimis. If somebody's a good employee and you really want to keep them, giving them benefits as soon as humanly possible. Like when I had my law firm, I think the only reason we wouldn't give somebody benefits the first day is because we just couldn't, right? I think we had to wait till the first of the following month for them to be on the health care plan, to be on the insurance. And by the way, we paid 100% of the premiums for the employee. I mentioned the company I'm at now, they have a 2% match on the 401k that does not fully vest for 5 years. That's bull crap. I didn't even enroll in their stupid 401k because that's how crappy that is, right? I mean, think about it. When I was at GP Transco, I got 4% and it vested immediately. So that'll give you an idea. And if that's something that you care about, and here's the thing, even if you're like, oh, I'm not sure I want to put money into 401k, because a lot of times they're not great investment options. But when a company also does that with their, with their match, it's their way of saying, we would give you less if we could. Like I would say, like Chris Rock says, we'll give you less if we could. So again, the company I'm with, not really impressive at all. I don't really know about a lot of the other benefits because, these packages are just of no interest to me. But you should look at that. But here's some questions to ask recruiters if this stuff is important to you. Some guys hate driving trucks that are slow, okay? The company that I just rejected today, I think they said they were 64 on cruise and 62 on pedal. I didn't reject them for that reason, but some guys might. Some guys might reject companies because of the equipment they have. I detest internationals, and I really pretty much detest these Peterbilts too. I would much rather have either a Freightliner or a Volvo. So for me, it's a big enough deal that if I could get around that, I would probably, all other things being equal, I would pick a company that has a Cascadia or a V&L 860 for me to drive over some PACCAR product. I feel like PACCAR is the AMF of trucking companies. In other words, if you know what I mean. So back in the day, AMF company owned all these different brands like Head skis and tennis rackets, and they happened to buy Harley Davidson. And among Harley enthusiasts, the AMF Harley Davidsons are not loved. And then what happened is Willie G. Davidson bought Harley Davidson back from AMF and took the company public, and that's been 30 years now, or longer. But PACCAR is the AMF of trucks right now. I think both the Kenworths and the Peterbilt families would be like, and who knows, maybe they'll get back to what they were before. So anyway, maybe that's important to you, the truck speed, the type of equipment. One of the other things that I hated about that company that I rejected today was they still use Qualcomm. And I hate Qualcomm. I hated it when I didn't have it at night because night uses Zener, or they did. I did have it at Schugel, and then once I got away from it at GP Transco. I hated going back to it at Prime. Hate it. So that's another issue. Where their terminals are located, where they run, whose cargo they carry. Those are all questions to ask. I mean, sometimes you're not going to get answers. And here's the thing, recruiters can lie to you all they want. I mean, there's really not a law against it. But, those are questions to ask. Home time. The one thing I will say that's an advantage at my company is they give 5 days of paid vacation after 6 months. That's not the norm. Usually it's like 5 days after a year. 5 days after a year of paid vacation for a company driver is it's an insult. 5 days of vacation after either working 365 days or not working 365 days and not getting any pay, that's just substandard. People need to take vacations, but they need to be able to afford to take vacations. And so I will say that's a benefit at my company. Paid holidays. My company has 6 paid holidays. It is not a huge expense to pay people on certain, like my company, New Year's, Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Those are the 6. It's just a nice gesture. And companies that don't do it, it's just another way of them saying, hey, we just want to keep more of the money that we can't, and we don't want to share. And the thing is that all these people that own these trucking companies, whether they're publicly traded or whether they're privately held, they're all rich. And and like I said last year when I was talking about Prime's reefer raffle, Christmas raffle, the amount of money that they put into that was chump change. I mean, nothing. And I'm sure they're going to do it this year, and maybe the market will be better and they'll do something a little bit different. But it was just crap, and there's absolutely no reason to stay on the road to get that, to compete for that. It's like if you had 6 kids and you throw 4 hamburgers on the table and they got to fight it out for a hamburger. That's just not, that's not a way to run a business. Some of the other things that matter when shops are open. For instance, Prime has 24/7 shops, although they are often backed up, and then they want you to come in at 2 o'clock in the morning. They wake you up to get you to come in. However, I will say that, like at GP Transco, the shops were open till midnight on the weeknights, so they had a second shift, and they had the shops open on Saturday. That was a good thing. Now, they're a lot bigger than they were. They're twice as big as they were when I was there, so I don't know if that's still enough to keep the trucks getting stuff turned around quickly. I know at night, one of the worst things about that company was the shops. Those dudes were freaking 8 to 5. And I'll tell you how bad it was. One time I picked up a trailer in the afternoon on a Friday at my home terminal. It was like, I got there at like 4:45. I get the trailer. I realize it's got a flat and I need to get the tire changed. I send a message, but by the time I realized, I got everything done, it was 5 o'clock and those guys were gone. And I sent a message to roadside assistance, and the guy messaged me back because he was in Phoenix, and it was the summertime too, so they were on California time. And he's like, well, just take it in the shop. Why are you bothering me? I'm like, dude, it's after 5. He's like, oh yeah. He goes, can you just limp across the road, because there was a Petro basically not across the road, but 100 yards down the road. He's like, could you just take it to Petro? I'm like, yeah, sure. But the shops at night by and large sucked. They worked banker's hours, and in fact they were so bad. I was telling this guy the other day that a lot of drivers, when they would have like a flat tire on a trailer or have some issue with the trailer, they would take it off the yard and go get out on the interstate knowing that they were not DOT compliant, just so they could call roadside, because then they would get some contractor to come out and fix it. But that should be important to you. There are any number of things. If some pet policies, I've said this before, I think it should be free to have a pet in a truck. There are a lot of nasty ass truck drivers out there coming to terminals smelling like ass, but yet companies will be like, oh, you got to pay us $500, $700, $1,000 to have a little dog on the truck. And I just think that's really short-sighted, and again, it's a way to shake people down, because I'm pretty sure people never get those pet deposits back. Heck, I know I paid pet deposits at 2 different companies to have Beatrice on the truck, and neither of those did I ever get my pet deposit back. And so I think it's just, like I said, the Hirschbach pet deposit, insane. I think Prime's is actually $1,000 if you're a company driver. Why? You're already not paying that much. Why wouldn't you want somebody to have a pet that keeps them happy, keeps them willing to stay on the road? Passenger policies. I saw a company, and I mentioned this in a video a while back, they were hiring independent contractors, and then they're like, yeah, we have a passenger policy. But when I say they were hiring independent contractors, like, you had to own your truck. You had to come with the truck. And they're like, yeah, we have passenger policy. I'm like, I got a passenger policy. It's my freaking truck. That's my policy, right? I don't know why people would. And then they said, if you have a passenger, you have to pay us every week for insurance. It's just another shakedown, right? It's just another shakedown. And I don't care what anybody says. Oh, well, they do have to insure, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. That $10, that's, when a company does that to you, it's their way of saying, we'd like to screw you out of more, we just haven't figured out how to do it yet. And that's the thing, right? Like any trucking company, it's just a question of how much are you willing to put up with. So if you're coming into trucking, and I get that this is true everywhere. Like I delivered it at Amazon yesterday. I think there were probably like 2 people working in that whole warehouse. It took them hours, not hours to get me unloaded, because once I got in a dock, it was like quick. But it took them like 4 hours to get me in a dock with a frozen load. Every company is like that. Every company is trying to wring out every worker as much as humanly possible. I mean, it is exceedingly rare now in this industry, in logistics, distribution, to find a company that's like really doing well by their employees. And some are, and that's but the interesting thing about that is that the fact that it's noteworthy that some companies don't treat employees like crap is a huge problem in this country. And if there were more people that were unionized, there would be better workplaces. And even companies that aren't union have to keep up with companies that are. You look at like UPS, they're setting the market in their segment, right? Like FedEx can't ignore UPS's union contract, even though FedEx has historically been anti-union. But what I think also has to happen in the trucking industry is that truckers need to say, like I did. I've sent out emails to these recruiters saying, I'm rejecting you. Best of luck in your future endeavors, but I tell them why I'm rejecting them. I rejected Grand Island Express recently, and I knew that they had driver-facing cameras. Sorry, I want to check the time here. I knew they had driver-facing cameras, and I knew that they had done away with PC. But I rejected them because they were demanding a $6,600 promissory note from company drivers to cover their recruiting and onboarding costs. And they would forgive the note once you'd been with the company long enough, like 3 months. And I'm like, if you got to do that, that speaks volumes about your recruiting process and about what drivers think about your company. And oh, by the way, they also had a $500 rolling deposit in case the truck got damaged or whatever. And again, that did not set well with me, I'll put it that way. And I told the recruiter, and the funny thing is about the reply email is she didn't push back on anything I said. She was just like, oh, I'm sorry to hear this. She did not push back on it. She knew that what I was saying, I'm guessing she probably had heard that before, or she at least kind of knew it. So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit. But before I go, I want to talk about QuikTrip real quick. So this QuikTrip, remember I said I talked to Gavin. And I was asking Gavin, I'm like, why are all these freaking bobtails in here? And I even sent an email to the company asking that question. But Gavin let me in on a little secret. He's like, we're going to start towing people. If there's a car in here, we're going to have them towed. If there's a bobtail parked in a long parking spot, we're going to have them towed. But he said, the area behind the trucks here, because I'm at the edge, he said, QuikTrip owns all that, and they're going to be adding an additional 150 parking spots here at the world's biggest QuikTrip. So the world's biggest QuikTrip, exit 340, I-94, Wisconsin, is going to be getting even bigger. So this, just to refresh you, this is the one across the road from Mars Cheese Castle. So exit 340, I-94 going to be adding 150 parking spots. But he did say they're going to start towing some of these slackers that just come in here and ditch their truck or put their car here, and to save their spot. He said they're gonna be towing people. So I was happy to hear all that. We exchanged some other pleasantries, and so I appreciate his insight. So yeah, looking forward to an extra 150 spots here in I think this is Kenosha County. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.